Good evening and thank you for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Ritu Singh and here are the headlines that we're tracking today.
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
Elon Musk says he will continue to speak his mind and does not care if his tweets scare off potential Twitter advertisers or Tesla customers. He's optimistic about the incoming Twitter CEO and promises to hire more people at Twitter after laying off more than 70% of its employees. That's a CNBC exclusive. Elon Musk and Microsoft Satya Nadella differ on artificial intelligence. Nadella says AI is moving fast but in the right direction. Musk calls it a double-edged sword that could potentially go wrong. U.S. House Speaker and top Republican lawmaker Kevin McCarthy says he thinks that the Biden government will not default on its debt. President Biden and Speaker McCarthy are currently locked in talks to raise the debt ceiling. Australia cancels the Quad summit after Biden calls off the trip. He's tripped to focus on the debt ceiling talks in the U.S. The Supreme Court grants Sebi 3 additional months to complete its probe into allegations made by Hindenburg Research against Adani Group companies, extends the deadline till the 14th of August, also directs the expert panel to share its report with all parties in the case. Sebi had initially sought a 6-month extension. The Cabinet revises the production-linked incentives outlay for the IT hardware sector, doubles it to 17,000 crore rupees. The scheme has a 6-year validity under the revised terms. Total production under the scheme has been estimated at 3.35 lakh crore rupees. Union Power Minister R.K. Singh says he's urging for a production-linked incentive scheme to boost battery storage. Also adds that India is closer to peak power demand and warns DISCOM over load shedding, say customers should be compensated. Government and RBI amend foreign exchange management rules, bring international spending through credit cards within the $250,000 per year foreign remittance limit available to Indians under the liberalized remittance scheme. Merge limit to kick in from the 1st of July. Top Tesla officials meet officials from the PMO, Transport and Heavy Industry Ministries. Sources tell us that the electric car maker is considering manufacturing in India but has conveyed its concerns on taxation and duties. That's an exclusive. The suspense over who will become the next Karnataka Chief Minister continues. Congress Party's Karnataka in charge Randeep Surjewala says a decision is likely within 24 to 48 hours. Real money gaming industry surpasses education sector as the most violative in advertising. India's advertisement watchdog finds 92% of gaming ads do not follow guidelines. Only 50% ads are modified despite warnings. Well, straight to the day's market action then. The last trade ended in the red but off intraday lows. Nifty and the Sensex saw cuts of over 0.5% in trade. The Nifty is now below the 18,200 mark. The IT stocks were the biggest laggards, with the index slipping 1%. Mid-caps outperformed the blue chips. That index ended flat with a slight negative bias. Our big news maker tonight, an exclusive interview with Elon Musk on Twitter, Tesla, the US presidential race and more. First up, Elon Musk says he does not care if his inflammatory tweets scare off potential Twitter advertisers and Tesla customers. Speaking to David Faber in what was an hour-long interview, Musk defended his controversial tweets, including conspiracy theories. He said, and I quote, "I'll say what I want, and if the consequences of that is losing money, so be it," end of quote. Speaking about the macroeconomy, Musk predicted that the next 12 months will be difficult for Tesla due to increased interest rates and shrinking customer budgets. On the US Fed's interest rate action, Musk said, and I quote, "You can think of raising the Fed rates as somewhat of a brake pedal on the economy," end of quote. Elon Musk also said that tensions between the US and China should be a concern for everyone and described the global economy and Chinese economy as conjoined twins. He also said tensions escalating with China could be more harmful for Apple than for Tesla. He said, and I quote, "It's actually worse for a lot of other companies than it is for Tesla. I mean, I'm not sure where you're going to get an iPhone," end of quote. About his political views, Musk said he voted for President Biden, but he also hinted he was not happy with his choice, said, and I quote, "I wish we could just have a normal human being as president," end of quote. Here is Elon Musk speaking about the circumstances which led to the takeover of Twitter with a colorful analogy. The Supreme Court has granted Sebi 3 additional months to complete its probe into allegations made by US-based short seller Hindenburg Research against the Adani group of companies. The court has extended the deadline till the 14th of August. The market regulator, remember, had initially sought an extension of 6 months. Ashmit Kumar has been tracking this case and joins us now. Ashmit, tell us about the key observations made by the court.
Well, what Sebi had asked for was a 6-month extension. What they've gotten instead from the top court is a 3-month extension. That's what the apex court takeaway is. The Supreme Court bench, headed by the Chief Justice, took up this matter for hearing. The petitioners were very clear in their stance. They had argued that Sebi's affidavit before the top court made it clear that the Adani investigation began before the Hindenburg revelations, and therefore the findings need to be placed on record. This was a stance that was opposed by the Solicitor General appearing for the Sebi. He pointed out that, number one, there needs to be a distinction made as far as the Adani investigation is concerned. It is confined to possible violations of minimum public shareholding norms. That is something that began in 2020. The 2016 investigation was into the issue of GDR unrelated to Adani group of entities. This was further backed by the apex court as well. The Chief Justice himself observed that, look, as far as this particular case is concerned, they're looking at the Hindenburg violations and not so much at previous investigations. So having said that, the Chief Justice of India observed that given that Sebi has already been allowed 2 months, now a 3-month extension, which effectively allows them 5 months, that should be a sufficient window for Sebi to investigate. Sebi has been asked to come back with its status report by August 14th. That's when the apex court will take a decision on whether or not a further extension is required. And in the interim, the expert committee that has been constituted has been asked to continue to, in fact, expand into other areas and scope of investigation, at least as far as the Adani-Hindenburg saga is concerned. Back to you.
All right, Ashmit, thanks very much for joining in with that. Now, in the aviation space, SpiceJet's aircraft lessor Air Castle today told the NCLT that the airline's offer to settle its dues is unacceptable and hence the talks have not yielded any results. NCLT has asked both SpiceJet and Air Castle to come up with a resolution or come prepared for insolvency arguments in the next hearing. The tribunal has deferred the hearing now to the 25th of May. Well, here's the latest on the Go First case, which is also facing issues with lessors. In a new development, the Federation of India Pilots, which includes Go First pilots, have also written to Aviation Minister Scindia. The pilots have urged the minister to reduce the 6-month notice period and ease their exit from airlines that are distressed and unable to pay their salaries. The pilots have complained that Go First is not issuing the no objection certificate, experience certificate and other documents to pilots who have resigned. The Cabinet has revised the production-linked incentive outlay for IT hardware sector and doubled it to 17,000 crore rupees. The scheme has a 6-year validity under the revised terms. My colleague Ashmit Kumar caught up with IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, who told him the modifications are to make PLI flexible, and he urged state governments to be proactive in engaging with the industry.
Learning from what we have done in telecom and in mobile phone PLIs, the hardware PLI has been modified to make it very flexible. The base level of incentive has been kept at 5%, which is equivalent to the incentive in mobile phone and telecom manufacturing. I would request the state governments to be very proactive in their engagement with the industry, because the state governments play a very critical role in terms of land allocation, in terms of law and order, in terms of all the basic facilities which are needed, in terms of labor enforcement. All these things, I'll request the state governments to be very proactive and take advantage of this big movement which Prime Minister has started.
Well, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs is likely to have approved a 35% cut in the nutrient-based subsidy for fertilizers. This, according to sources who say that the new rates of subsidy will come into effect from April to September 2023. However, the specific details of the subsidy reduction is yet to be made official. And here's the CNBC-TV18 exclusive on the highly anticipated visit by Team Tesla. Sources have told us that top Tesla executives met with officials from the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, Heavy Industries and the Prime Minister's office. We learned while Tesla showed an interest in the Indian market, it also raised concerns on the taxation policy. Now on to the crypto sector, where the European Union has approved the first comprehensive regulatory framework for crypto usage in the EU, which is called Markets in Crypto Assets. Post the implementation of the framework, the firms that issue, trade and safeguard crypto assets in the 27-country bloc will have to obtain a license. According to Reuters, these rules are to be rolled out from 2024. And starting the 1st of July, you will be able to send less money abroad every year if you also use a credit card for international purchases. That's because the RBI and the government have decided to club international credit card transactions with the $250,000 per year foreign remittance limit. CNBC-TV18 Sebi Upadhyay has the details.
Well, yes. All credit card transactions with respect to international purchases, whether you're making those purchases sitting here in India online or whether you're doing it in a foreign territory, all of these credit card transactions are going to now fall within the LRS ambit, the limit. What is LRS? Of course, the liberalized remittance scheme. What was earlier happening was that the remittances up to $250,000, they were permissible under LRS. However, credit card transactions were over and above, and they were not counted as part of this limit of $250,000. But now with the latest amendment, which the central government has done, the cap will be $250,000, whether you're making that payment or transaction through a credit card, or whether it's a remittance or whether it's a cash transaction, whatever might be the medium. A lot of the industry watchers and tax experts say that this perhaps could be to curb the circumvention of the LRS limit itself, which perhaps some of the super rich, some of the high income earners or the high spenders were looking at doing. So that leakage, so to speak, has been plugged. However, it's raising its own set of operational challenges. Now, why is that? Imagine this. Every time that you go out on a foreign holiday and you're spending on that cup of coffee or buying something small to eat, there will be a credit card charge, and on that there will be a TCS, a tax collected at source provision. TCS on all these transactions has been raised from 5% to 20%. That was announced, of course, in Budget 2023. Earlier, it wasn't a problem because it would apply largely to remittances. But now, if the TCS provisions have to apply on all card transactions, then perhaps things could get a little challenging. So a lot of industry watchers say that we need to figure out how merchants and banks are going to implement these new rules. While, of course, in letter and spirit, they're fine that the LRS limit should be respected. It remains at $250,000. There should be no leakages or no circumvention. But the question is, will it lead to certain other unintended consequences? One of them also being that now you have to keep aside an extra amount of sum because there will be a TCS provision, 20% on every transaction that you will have to pay upfront. And then, of course, later you get a refund for it. So it does create a cash flow issue as well for people like you and me. So lots to think about, both for the super rich and for the regular retail class when it comes to making any sort of foreign spend, whether it is a foreign currency spend sitting here online in India or actually overseas.
Well, if you are traveling abroad after the 1st of July, do keep that in mind if you're using your credit card. Sebi, thanks very much for bringing us those details. Now, Union Power Minister R.K. Singh said he's pushing for a production-linked incentive scheme for boosting battery storage in India. Now, speaking to Shireen Bhan at the Sustainable is Attainable event, the Power Minister also warned DISCOMs, saying customers should be compensated for load shedding.
We also have to go in for battery storage. We shall go in for that, and I've been pushing the government to sanction, the production-linked incentive scheme to get me battery storage. That happens, we'll add more storage capacity. I'm already adding storage capacity. So that is the challenge.
So given the fact that we've seen this big change take place as far as the health of DISCOMs are concerned, do you believe that there is a need for privatization, or that the government will be able to now manage DISCOMs?
No. I'm very clear in my mind. I am very clear in my mind, and I keep telling my officers about this. I say that we are a democracy. Democracy means freedom. So everybody has a right to choose. That's why I made this universal open access. Why? I mean, I didn't make it actually. It was there in the 2003 Act. It was not being implemented. We are implementing it. The 2003 Act said that there will be open access. Open access means what? I mean, if the DISCOM is inefficient, I'll buy it from somebody else. That's what open access means. And similarly, just like there is no licensing for generation, actually there should be no, but you need licensing for distribution, so that you can make sure that the distribution companies are answerable for the service which they are giving. What we are saying is that licensing should be virtually automatic. Anybody who applies should get the license, because the people are more important than discoms. The discoms are here for the people, not vice versa, and the people need to have a choice. And if some discom is not giving them good service, they should be able to switch to a discom which is giving better service. So you have a right to get connection within a certain time frame. I'm just waiting for some people to complain, so that some people can get penalized. Once you penalize somebody, then the right gets entrenched. If somebody is penalized, if one person is penalized for violating a right, you can then we sit back and relax and say that the right has been entrenched. So there is a rule that if you apply for connection, you must get it within a certain number of days. Please read it. I'll put it on the net. And in fact, the CNBC should publicize these things. And if there is any disruption in your supply, if there is any load shedding without any rhyme or reason, the discom has to give you a compensation. They can't do gratuitous load shedding. All these are enshrined rules. As I said, I mean, we are here for the people. The discom is here for the people, not the other way around.
All right, on that note, we're going to take a very short break, but don't go anywhere. Up next, real money gaming industry surpasses education sector as the most violative in advertising. That and more when we return. Welcome back. Here's news from the US. The Biden administration is staring at a potential debt default if lawmakers fail to raise the debt ceiling by the end of the month. US House Speaker and top Republican lawmaker Kevin McCarthy spoke to CNBC on the negotiations with the White House. Now, he said he thinks the US will not have a debt default.
I think at the end of the day, we do not have a debt default. I think we finally got the president to agree to negotiate. That was probably difficult for him to say as president he would negotiate with somebody, but it's really what the old Joe Biden was good at. And now we've got an opportunity for him to be back to what he used to be able to do, and let's get the job done.
Now, back home, real money gaming industry has surpassed the education sector as the most violative in advertising. According to Advertising Standards Council of India, 92% of gaming ads do not follow guidelines, and only 50% of ads are modified despite warnings. Shibani Gara joins us now with more details. Shibani, take us through the key findings of this report.
Real money gaming dominates problematic ads as top violator in FY 22-23 as per advertising regulatory body ASCI's latest report. 92% of the ads missed adding the required disclaimer that informs consumers of financial and addiction risks. Now, real money gaming was recorded as the most non-compliant sector for this same period. Gaming, in fact, overall also tipped over education, which has been the top violating sector for the past few years. On the other hand, categories like healthcare, personal care, virtual digital assets, food and beverages, fashion, lifestyle, edutech stood as top violators on this particular list. Now, when it comes to mediums, digital ads have also emerged as the leading violator, with 75% of the ads being processed from the digital space, from the likes of Instagram, Facebook, websites, YouTube and other such platforms. Print, television and other platforms stood at 21%, 3% and 1% each. Also, according to ASCI, there has been a sharp increase in the number of misleading ads featuring celebrities in the lead, something to take a note of. ASCI, which has processed 503 such ads as opposed to just 55 in 2022, a growth of 803% was witnessed. That's something important to take note of, as celebrities play a crucial role in consumer decision making.
Well, that is some concerning updates, Shibani. Thanks very much for joining in with that. But before we wrap, why is IPL 2023 being touted as a thriving democracy of brands? What makes this IPL special? Storyboard 18's editor Dilshad Irani talks to leading marketers and media planners to find out how the digital leap, free IPL, connected TVs and language play have all propelled the league and brands to new height.
So what are you seeing in terms of, interest from smaller brands, people with not as, high sort of media spends?
In fact, everyone spoke about democratization of the IPL. I think what IPL has done to the advertisers, they've democratized TV for the advertisers. Earlier, to advertise on TV, you needed huge budgets. Now you don't need huge budgets to advertise on TV.
So two things to add, I think. One is, interestingly, if you look at digital overall, and if you look at the addicts for last 10 years, I remember as a marketer 10 years back, somebody told me that digital will kill TV. I'm still waiting for that moment. Right? So, for example, TV grew 10 years. Digital took share from print and outdoor in a very big way. And that's what digital is able to do, personalization at scale. So I think it will only grow. And languages play an integral part. In fact, it's quite amazing how much people... So we actually, in Bombay or Delhi, sometimes tend to underestimate the power of languages. I'm glad Jaya just said that, right? It's identity for people in India. And when someone televises IPL in Oriya, the joy that it brings to somebody in Orissa, you have to talk to them to understand.